Hi, welcome to my TED Talk. I am exhausted. It is currently 1 a.m. and I've been trying to record this for 20 minutes and I've probably tried to set up the screen for 30. Who knows if it'll work? But welcome. I assume by the fact that you've clicked on this video, you at least know a little bit about Persona 5 Royal, maybe the spin-offs, maybe done your own character research, I don't know. The whole purpose of this is just, undoubtedly you've seen videos of like, oh, explaining this character's psychology in Persona 5. Oh, this one, and doing like a ton of different videos on it. And I mean, most of those, I'll be honest, I used like Thought Bubble, had a lot of good videos that he used that I took some, I learned from, and I used part of it for my own video. I've also found a couple websites I've done research for, did an interview, a couple other creators I had seen videos for, which I'll link all of those below in the description. But the whole point of this is to just make a compiled video about it, instead of having like, oh, here's one for this character, here's one for this character, whatever. This is just to compile them all into one big one. And I mean, I'm not gonna go into this whole, oh, this is what happens in the first act of Persona 5. This is the second one. I mean, you clicked on the Persona 5 video. I'm not probably that known. You probably don't. If you somehow managed to watch this, you must be running out of Persona content to watch. So I'm gonna just assume everybody knows what's going on here. I believe this topic is incredibly complex because, I mean, there are games that try to show psychology. I just don't think there are any that are on the level of Persona 5. And I mean, they've been doing this for a while. They have the stuff about like not fearing death and like just knowing that death will come at some point with Persona 3. And the like, you can make your own destiny. You can stop fate from Persona 4. And then how this also, I feel like this has two themes of the having that true being of who you are, that the rebellion that all of the party members have, but then also just the idea of the psychology of everybody has something that makes them who they are. Everybody goes through something. And I mean, I think that's well displayed with like, especially party members, but even the villains to an extent, and the side characters. I mean, most of the side characters, I believe, just come out to the child side characters at least being, abusive or negligent parents, and then like a lot of the other ones end up just being like threats, blackmail, etc. But like that can still, I think they're displayed very differently between how the characters react to the parental abuse or negligence or the threats, blackmail, just how the characters each react differently, showing how people can each react differently to different events. People that don't know about Persona in general would just assume it's a random video game series, not that important, doesn't really do that much, just it is a video game. But there are also people that just don't realize how big of a societal impact games can have, how deep into a particular theme games can go, and I think that Persona 5 is incredible at going deep into the theme of psychology, more than any other game I've ever seen. But just getting into your own character, even about his feelings and thoughts about like, he just tried to help a woman, and got, like charged with like a felony and all that, sent off to this small town, probably feeling like issues of feeling abandoned or alone, which can weigh on somebody mentally incredibly much. And then even with characters like Ryuji, who his whole big goal was do track, get a scholarship to help his mom. And then once he had that whole thing with Kamoshida, he got knee messed up, no more track team. Not only was he not able to achieve his goal anymore of supporting his mom, but also the rest of the track team was against him. You see throughout all of his ranks that they have issues. Eventually they get the issues cleared up, but he still had a lot of conflict with the track team themselves throughout his entire link. And then that, just how that of like the people that you trusted and your friends, like just berating you, putting you down, being mean to you, whatever, on how that weighs on someone psychologically. I mean, next up with Morgana, even, just random cat creature that you find just hanging out in a jail cell. You free him, he doesn't know who he is, and he just wants you up to figure out who he is. Eventually, end of the game he does, but it's that also you see throughout his different links of just him feeling like he's unsure and like not knowing. I think at one point he's even like, I don't know if I'm, was good or not, or whatever it would be, before he lost all his memories. So it's just that feeling of like trying to figure out who you are and realizing what you are and like how your life exists. Those first I feel like are some of the weaker ones, because next up we have On, and again, if you've played the game, you very much know about that one. Considering within the first 10-20 hours of the game, her best friend tries to kill herself. This is shown throughout, like, you can see even from where characters first introduced, she gets very uncomfortable when being around Kamoshida, doesn't like people talking about it. Even then with that phone call that you get her to, like, when you kind of become friends with her, you can hear that she's just, like, going through it, and that, like, she's being threatened by him, and that makes you hate him more to make you want to go beat him as a character, and as a villain in the game. And then, like, with Shiho trying to kill herself. After that, and that making On feel more passionate about it. And then through it, and like, just the feeling of the feelings of lowness that a sexual assault victim would feel, as well as their best friend, like, had tried to commit suicide. The amount of, like, mental anguish and pain and, like, stress that would feel in a person would be incredible. Moving on then to Yusuke. He has, like, his mom is dead. All he has left is his master. Even though his master is not being a good person and is treating him unfairly and is stealing his work, he still doesn't want to expose his master to him, betray his master, because that's all he has. He's denying what's wrong because he doesn't want anything. He doesn't want to have anything bad happen. So he's just letting it happen, even telling people that no, you're wrong, because he just wants himself to believe it won't happen, even though he secretly deep down knows he is, because to him he sees his master as, a parental figure, and nobody wants to believe that someone they see as like a parent or an adult figure in their life could be taking advantage of them or be almost abusive towards them. The next one following that is Makoto, and I feel like this one has blatant examples of the story of the game, with like the different flashbacks to her sister saying like, oh, you're useless, when On calls her useless. And just with her being in charge of the student council, you've got the principal giving her different tasks to do, of find the Phantom Thieves, tell me who they are, get rid of them, whatever it may be. She feels like she's just trying to achieve what everybody thinks of her and be able to be the best she can be, even if a lot of what's expected of her is unrealistic. And most of those unrealistic expectations end up coming from herself in the game. Just like how there would be a person in the day-to-day life who try to hold himself to the highest standard possible, who tries to push themselves just a little too hard, and then is incredibly hard on themselves so they're not able to achieve what they want and what they set out to do. And how that can affect somebody feeling like they're not good enough, they don't deserve it because they didn't work hard enough, even when they're the hardest working person in the room. They just keep trying to push themselves more and more and more. with later than her trying to go off on her own to solve the problem, to make herself feel useful, and that just ends up with her getting caught and taken and just put in more trouble. But I mean, she ended up joining the team, and so it worked out. The next one is also incredibly different with Futaba, because her mom died and was killed, but she's under the belief that it's her fault, that she's the one who led to the death of her mother, and that if she wasn't the way she was, that her mom would still be alive. So because of that, she's locked herself up in her room and like refuses to leave half the time. And you know, I like the coincidence of, oh, she knows Sojiro and you're staying with him, whatever, which makes you like closer to it as a character, closer to him, so you can get his perspective on it too. Because there's even like after you save her, Sojiro reacting to like how she is now and just thanking you and being like, I don't know what changed and all that stuff. But the whole point of that dungeon is to just, that palace is to be like making her like understanding what happened for your character, but then also helping her realize that it's not her, that she's not the reason her mom died, that somebody killed her for her research, which drives the plot incredibly. And I mean, following that, you've got Haru, who, I mean, her dad is neglectful in the fact that he just sees her as an object for him to gain more in life. You have her boyfriend, who is seen like grabbing her and like putting his hands on her in the course of in the story of the game. And then like how he even sees her boyfriend as just another pawn for him to use, when, and like her as well as being another robot. So she goes through a lot of like parental neglect and then actual physical abuse from a partner, and then just the feeling of not being needed and the feeling of being by yourself and alone. And reaching back to Futaba real quick, of that feeling of, you know, cause of you're the reason that the person you love isn't here, has to be like, would just be such an aching pain for an individual to face, that that's what led Futaba to lock herself in her room. And even after you change her heart in the game, you see how hard it is for her to adapt to the rest of society after being locked in so long and being on her own. Which, like, yeah, I personally couldn't even imagine what that'd be like. But then back with Haru, just the feeling of her, like what her dad would think of her and how her dad treats her and how she's seen by the people around her, would definitely bring down one's self-esteem quite a bit. And then like with Akechi, and like even just in his prince form, in his Detective Prince, he's not seen as like a flawed character. He's just like the popular person. He's the famous and genius person who is trying to find out who the Phantom Thieves are, but he teams up with you and like gives you that last job just to betray your character, shoot him later. And then with the last, with Shido's Palace, he uncovers himself to be the person who you're trying to stop, the person who's causing mental breakdowns, the person who killed Haru's dad. Like, we see him kill Haru's dad, but has also caused a lot of other crimes and things to go wrong throughout the course of the game. And you have to fight him. You see him go on the rant, which I probably will throw in right here.
Shut up, shut up, shut up! Teammates! Friends! To hell with that! Why am I inferior to you? I was extremely particular about my life, my grades, my public image, so someone would want me around. I am an ace detective, a celebrity!
Akechi-kun.
You're just some criminal trash living in an attic! So how? How does someone like you have things I don't? How can such a worthless piece of trash be more special than me?
But throughout that rant, he talks about how he's not seen as, he's seen as just thrown away. He just seems as cast out. Even through like different parts of the game, we see that his mom was like a stripper and Shido's his dad, and that his mom worked all day just to be able to support him and later passed away, where he, instead of going with Shido, was just thrown, who didn't even know he existed, he was thrown through the foster system for his entire life until he was able to just do things on his own. And like, just that, I think, addresses like how there are foster kids that don't feel like they belong, and they feel like they're on their own and they have nobody who cares about them, nobody who loves them, and how it can lead them to become angry at the world who they feel like had done this to them, the world who wasn't there to protect them as a child, and how that would make you angry towards everything. And we see him with his like master, well strategized plan to take down Shido by like following him and all that. And you just see how like almost desperate he is to achieve his goal, and how desperate he is to like get revenge. Which later when he comes back, he's still kind of all messed up in the head because of what he did to himself during that fight. But he more is just wanting to help, I feel like. But then, I mean, you have even just the masses for the Yaldabaoth fight of him wanting to be, of him being in control of everybody else. Everybody wanted to worship him and have him make decisions for them. Which that one isn't, like, I guess as big, but I mean, I still think it counts. And by far and away, the biggest display of psychology in Persona 5 is with Kasumi Sumire and then Maruki. And starting with Maruki, in the game, the little notes and the recording tapes, we have him talking about how when he finally went to go meet his girlfriend's parents, there was an incident and parents died, girlfriend's in critical condition, she wakes up but she has no memory of him. So, and I guess he just felt that feeling of like, I wish I could change this, I wish I could change this, I wish I could make her remember me, make it better. And then had awakened to his own persona that allowed him to change people's cognitions. He chose to not do it for her, to let her live her life without him as part of it, but then he decided that he wasn't going to let anyone else suffer like he did. And I mean, following that, in the post-game, well, the bonus content, he has done that. He's taken away every hardship anybody faced. For your own character, he brought back Akechi. For Morgana, made him human. Ryuji, he's back on the track team. He's fine. His leg is fine. An can just hang out with Shiho. Yusuke has his master, like, can be with his master, and I think even his mom. I'm not sure on that one, though. I know Makoto has her dad back. Futaba has her mom back and still can be with Sojiro as well. Haru has her dad back. And then the extra character being Kasumi, she is the only other person who realizes that, hey, this isn't right here. To which the two then go and get everybody snap out of it. But Kasumi is a very interesting character in the sense of she had a horrible accident, which was actually talked about at the start of the game when, during the traffic, Sojiro mentions that there was a crash, or like the radio mentioned about a car crash that happened, which happened to be the incident with Kasumi and Sumire. But the whole thing about it is just Sumire was so distraught by the death of her sister that she feels that she caused by running off into the road for her sister to go push her, that she straight up just became Kasumi. And like throughout the game, you see that none of the other characters call her Kasumi. It's what I think she called herself that, but then also your player character calls her that because that's what you know her as. You never hear an outside source call her that. And it's also seen by her cell phone that is constantly brought up to have issues, flaws, broken, damaged. It's because it's her sister's phone, which was on her when the accident happened. So of course it's not going to be in great condition. But then you also get to see like the pain and anguish that she feels when she snapped out of it during that first little battle with Marky's in Marky's palace, where she's forced back to realize she's Sumire, and just the pain and anguish it makes her feel. And then you even hear from the rest of her ranks just how much that drags on her and how that drained on her with what happened. But then she realizes that she needs to move on. But like, it's just, some people might feel with both cases that pain when like either losing a loved one, of like wanting to go back, wishing that it was you and not them, sort of situation with Kasumi Sumire, or like just refusing to believe it happened, which is kind of what Maruki wanted to do for everybody else, is take away their pain as if it never existed. Which, you know, in an ideal world would be great, but when you sit down to think about it, is unrealistic to actually happen in society. The pain that people feel is what makes them who they are. So that's why it's important that they exist through, that they deal with that and they remember that. And it's something that you can't just take away from somebody. But, I mean, just to wrap things up, because I've been going for a long time, just keep talking. But just to wrap things up with that, the game, well, just to wrap things up, Persona 5 is incredible at displaying deep levels of psychology, of going into the innermost thoughts of what a real life person would be feeling to a certain topic, or how they would deal with a certain situation. It goes deep into the thought process and their feelings, and how different people could react to different situations, if they have any overlap in their own situation. It's just how they are very good at having the different characters display the same situation differently, and they go on very well the entire time up until the very end of the game, where they hit it out. They absolutely hit it out of the park with that last act of the game. But with all that, I hope you learned something here. Again, if you want to watch the videos I got my information from, they're probably better videos, honestly. I have those in the description, so feel free to check those out. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for watching.